reason? In the aftershocks that have hit the area. According to the U.S. Tsunami Warning Center, sea levels tonight indicate that a tsunami was in fact generated by this very large.
It's unprecedented, really, to have so much in such a short period of time.
Shall what? Reel to and fro. What do you mean, reel? Let me tell you what's the meaning of reel. Reel is to move around in one place. Reel is to be rocked.
After the Pope announced his surprise resignation, the heavens over Rome opened. And
the air. So very, very shocking. One interesting fact of note is that the world is closely watching another meteor that's supposed to graze past the Earth later on this evening. That's the size of an Olympic-sized swimming pool. This is an unrelated
meteor that exploded in Russia. And now tonight's breaking news, a meteor streaking across
at Miami are collapsing.
Smashed by savage storms with hundreds of homes damaged.
We're getting 7-point-something on the Richter scale almost on a weekly basis. I've never seen that before. I mean, yeah, we get one or two of these things.
Iran is back to the market after the implementation of its nuclear deal with the P5+1.
Exports market.
There is quite low external demand from Asia or the US, so that private consumption in the core of the Eurozone is.
And global economic headwinds. Politics also dictates to business leaders, and certain states are putting pressure on others, he warned, hinting sanctions are politically motivated and Washington's pressuring reluctant NATO allies to do what it wants. Medvedev said.
President Mauricio Macri said this week his administration is aiming to boost employment through restructuring.
Firing randomly as he moves steadily and directly towards police.
Some witnesses had earlier complained that security forces were taking too long to act.
The army and the police came.
These are always situations which, as everybody here knows, have an ability, if not proper.
Madman who kills innocents in the name of God embraces the terrorist narrative.
We are at war with violent extremism. We are at war with people who use their religion for purpose.
Only pope that was both born and died on the same day as the solar eclipse of the sun. It does, Melanie. I'm not going to get into this. There's wonderful YouTube videos out there and wonderful websites where you guys can go and research how the name Pope Francis. I don't know. Like I said, it's not biblical, but however, downright disturbing. And now, not our good works. You can do all the good works you.
Nation. 6 conversos accused of heresy were publicly burned to death after a Catholic named Friar Alfonso de Ojeda first gave a grisly sermon to the mass.
So let me give you an example. So 23rd is a hero to many liberal Catholics for his Second Vatican Council of the early 1960s, which sought to open the church to a more modern era. On the other hand, Pope John Paul II, he's a hero to many conservative Catholics because of his enormous mass where these popes were canonized. They actually had 2 living popes there canonized. Concerning the times and the seasons, brethren, you have no need that I should write to you. For you yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so comes as a thief in the night in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. Very interesting. If you go back to March, the President of the United States made a special trip by Pope Francis that calls for a new era of evangelization and a renewed focus for the poor. This reminds me of a very significant quote you find in that classic book called has something to do with economics, because her influence and increase her power in preparation for a fierce and determined conflict to regain control of the world and to reestablish persecution.
We know that
there's a famine or whenever there's an illness,
their former pagan beliefs and practices.
Now the percentage of Christians in this top 10, 50
became body. Wine became blood. But they just still looked like bread and wine.
This offering of the sacrifice in the Eucharist, this sacrifice of praise, this communal meal, now becomes not a remembrance of the sacrifice, but a sacrifice in of itself, and is giving salvation.
Yet Jesus made it very clear, there is no limbo or purgatory. After death, a person's next conscious thought was the resurrection and their eternal reward.
Do not marvel at this, for the hour is coming in which all who are in the graves will hear his voice and come forth. Those who have done good to the resurrection of life, and those who have done evil to the resurrection of condemnation. And I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast, which was full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and
실시간에
scarlet,
잠깐만
and
제
adorned
말들아.
with gold and precious.
Color of whiting, but now we have colors that